So our next speaker is Betsy Garrold, a longtime friend who's been relentlessly working with others on the food sovereignty issues, and she's going to give us an update. I do want to say one thing, regretfully, Heather Retberg, who's been working with Betsy for years and is wicked knowledgeable of all this, has a farm in Penobscot, and due to the cold and a couple animals are down and just dealing with the farm, which is typical for Maine, and they're incredible. So she was unable to come today, but Betsy will fill in a little bit with that. Thank you.
As I go around the country talking about our new food sovereignty law, I start out my story by saying that in 2009, the Maine Department of Agriculture chose the wrong two driveways to walk down. The first one was the Retberg's driveway in Penobscot, Maine, Quills End Farm. And the second one was Craig Hickman's farm driveway in Winthrop, Maine. The dairy inspector said that due to rule changes, Interior Department rule changes, both of these farms had suddenly become milk distributors rather than milk producers. And under those laws, they had to be licensed. And yes, the reaction to this was very different. Heather and Phil sat down with Food for Maine's Future, the organization that I'm the president of the board of, and we wrote and I always have to read this, the Local Food and Community Self-Governance Ordinance, which has said that because Maine is a home rule state, the control of the food systems can devolve to the lowest governmental entity, which is the municipalities, which is a great way of saying that towns get to say what happens in face-to-face food transactions within their boundaries. We got this passed in several towns down on the peninsula, and it has expanded. We now have the local food sovereignty ordinance in 20 towns and 1 city. Auburn just passed it a couple of months ago. Craig Hickman took a different approach to this. He and his husband Yap were running a bed and breakfast and a small farm in Winthrop. And he said, he got angry enough that he said, I'm going to run for the legislature. And he won. And he became chair of the Agriculture Committee. And through that, we started processing through the legislature laws to give control of the food that you eat back to the people who eat it and the people who produce it. And after many years, it's 8 years now, this last session we got the local food sovereignty law passed and the governor signed it. And it became the law of the state. And what that law says is that municipalities who have the local food sovereignty ordinance can control their own food systems. It does not protect municipalities who do not have the local food ordinance. So if your town doesn't have a local food sovereignty ordinance, see me. I will get you started down that path. After listening to everything that's been said today, I have to say that I have to use one of my favorite phrases. It's called muddy boots in the halls of power. And that is how we get things done. We do not have the money that the grocery lobbyists have, that the dairy lobbyists have, the people that went against us again and again and again as we tried to get these food sovereignty laws passed. We don't have their money. I'm sure, I'm a registered lobbyist, and I'm sure that when they do, look up and see how much I make as a lobbyist, they just laugh, because I make in an entire session what they probably make in a day. So there's no way that we're going to throw money at this. We need to have the muddy boots in the halls of power, and that's all of you guys that are here today with your muddy boots on because it's so freaking cold outside. These are the people that are going to make things change. The people's veto. I absolutely agree with you folks saying that this is our house and we can do what we want here. And we need to take back that power. And the way to do that is to show up. And I'm really pleased that all of you showed up today, and thank you so much. And we now have food sovereignty in the state of Maine, even though the USDA tried to kill it in the special session in October. We managed to save it. So even though we don't have meat and poultry, we still have all of the other pieces of the ordinance intact, and the people of Maine can feed themselves, and that is a victory. And And it's because of people like you, and I just want to thank you very much.